First of all, let me say good afternoon to everybody and welcome. My name is Mark Dannels. I'm the sheriff here in Cochise County. And I want to extend a sincere appreciation to my fellow law enforcement, my city council, the mayors that have attended us today and throughout the county. They even couldn't attend, for their support, ongoing support for what's going on here in Cochise County. We've called this press conference to share what I consider a very important public safety message to everybody here today that's viewing, to include those that are maybe not paying attention. It's time. It's truly time. About a month, 2 months ago, we had a press conference to talk about the drops here in Cochise County by our federal partners on what I call a broken system. Today, we stand in front of you back on a public safety issue due to the fact that what we've seen over the last year and a half to 2 years has reached a breaking point for law enforcement in Cochise County, and most important, the citizens here in Cochise County. There's not a day that goes by that we're not dealing with pursuits, crimes of serious nature involving this border. We've had, a couple weeks ago, you saw 3 of my deputies were, one from Tombstone Marshal's office, 2 from my office, that were injured. 1 still in the hospital, learning how to walk again. I'll just say that. I made the comment back then that enough was enough. Those are cheap words. They're cheap unless I can put some action behind them. Thanks to the professionals standing behind me, those that wear a badge, those that lead communities, our governor, Governor Hobbs, all the way back to Governor Ducey, our DPS Colonel, Director Glover, who's going to speak here in a few minutes too, our Arizona Sheriff Association, our police chiefs. We've all come together today to say enough is enough, but now we're going to put some stronger action behind it. March of 2022, we put a program together internally here in Cochise County between our police departments, our police chiefs, the sheriff's office, the troopers, and our federal partners working locally to address the border crimes. We feel we were successful. Sadly, the criminal cartels across the border upped their game, upped their operational plan. Well, guess what? So are we. Today we're kicking it off today, we bring law enforcement from all over the state to address this border crime that's not just Cochise County's problem, but the state of Arizona's problem and the United States of America's problem. I will say this to you, my frustration's high when it comes to what goes on in Washington, D.C., and I hope you all air that one. It's very frustrating what's going on in the White House right now. I can't control either. You think they would because they work for us, just like I work for the people in this county. And the oath, the number one thing we have in our oath of office is to protect America and the citizens and those within. As my deputy recovers in a hospital still in Tucson, I hope he's watching this too. When I told him we were going to do this event, and to his brother who works for Border Patrol, that was almost killed in the line of duty here in Cochise County not long ago by 2 migrants that illegally came across the border that attacked him. When I told both of them this is what we're doing, that his law enforcement family is coming together to do the right thing. That's what it's all about. It ain't the political thing. It's the right thing. They both were emotional. We stand here together today because we're doing the right thing for our communities and those that put us in office and those that we serve with passion and dedication. You know, as I said, my frustration's high, no doubt about it. I'll be the first to say it. Some of you can feel that know me well. But my priorities, my focus is higher. And that is to bring to relief to the citizens of this county and this state that say enough is enough. So if you hear me today, and the cartels especially, we're coming at you. And I'll say this to you too. For those thinking about coming to Cochise County to commit international crime, think twice. And you'll hear from Brian McIntyre, our county attorney. Him and his team have done an outstanding job to step up with law enforcement to make your community safe. And we're going to make it safer. You have my commitment. So we're going to be out here. We're going to be out here for some time until we start seeing a difference here in this county and our fellow counties that join us along the border, because we're going to make a statement here in Cochise County. It is my honor at this time to introduce you to the president of the Arizona Sheriff Association, Sheriff Dave Rhodes from Yavapai County. Sheriff Rhodes has been very instrumental in leading this mission, this statement, and keeping our state safe on behalf of sheriffs. He has made the trip down to Yavapai. In fact, several of his deputies will be working today here in Cochise County. They're going to be deploying. So when you see sheriff's cars from all over the state, they're here for a purpose, and they're here for a good purpose. It's my honor to introduce you, Sheriff Dave Rhodes. Sheriff.
Good afternoon. My name is David Rhodes. I am the president of the Arizona Sheriff's Association. I'm here not only representing the Arizona Sheriff's Association, but representing my constituents in Yavapai County who are also fed up with this situation, this instability at the southwest border. These impacts are being felt all over the state of Arizona and all over the nation, frankly. The Arizona Sheriff's Association worked with the Arizona Legislature and the Governor's Office to secure local border security funding in this year's budget cycle, this year's legislative term. $12.3 million, which was directed to Arizona DPS to be disseminated to local law enforcement agencies and local sheriff's departments specifically for these type of operations or other funding needed to deal with the ever-growing, the increasing related crimes and instability as a result of the open border. And I want to thank the Arizona Legislature specifically, and I want to thank Governor Hobbs, and I want to thank the Director of Arizona DPS, Jeffrey Glover, who's going to be speaking in a minute, standing behind me, for all of their support and their work to get this funding to local law enforcement that's going to be used to pay for this operation. Now, more is definitely needed. The Arizona Sheriff's Association has made a request to double that funding this next year specifically for these type of operations and events, resources that are needed around the state. These unfortunately, we have seen the federal funding request that was put forth by the White House earlier this week, and while we welcome it, it's 3 years too late, and it does not go far enough because it does not address the impact on local law enforcement and local governments that are dealing with this man-made disaster every single day. So, the question has to be asked, how many times must this lesson be learned? How many times do we have to see what the outcome is when you have open and insecure borders? And why is this such a serious issue at the local level? Well, we all know that the American democracy is rooted at the local level. And it's built on a few core tenets, but one of the most important tenet is public safety and public security. And without that, nothing else can function. And right now, public safety and public security is being diminished, it's being attacked, people are profiteering off of it, foreign bad actors are profiteering off of it at the local level all over the place. The current instability, destabilization of the southwest border is creating or allowing for the creation of illicit economies all over every local jurisdiction in this state. And all over this nation, frankly. When you say illicit economies, this is your human smuggling, this is your human trafficking, child sex trade, drug smuggling, gun running, the money laundering, everything that you can think of is occurring, and it's starting to take root in all these different places. So we have to do something. We have to do something at the local level because we're not getting the support at the federal level that we believe that we should get, that we know that we should get. So we're here today. We're supporting all of our partners that are down here in Cochise County, all of our partners working at the federal law enforcement and doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And we are going to do everything that we possibly can do to show force, to bring as Sheriff Dannels said, we're going to bring it back to the cartels. This place is not open for business. The state is not open for business. Our local economies are not open for business. You cannot come here and poison our children without retribution, without consequences. You cannot come here and create illicit sex trade without consequences. You are going to meet the full wrath of the state law enforcement. This is not a doing of our own. The policies of Washington, D.C., the policies of the federal administration, which have led to this, what's led to this disaster. But they have one strategy, one lever that they can pull, that they pull over and over again, and that is to pass the buck. Pass the buck to the local level. We at the local level have nobody left to pass the buck to. We must deal with this crisis the very best that we can, and that is by sticking together and working together. And you can tell that that's what this is about. This is a coalition, and by all the people that are lined up here to speak to you today, all the people that are participating in this operation are here for one unified purpose. I want to introduce to you a very good friend, a fantastic individual who's working very hard to support local law enforcement on behalf of the state, the Director of Arizona Department of Public Safety, Mr. Jeffrey Glover.
Sure. So, thank you. I'm Jeff Glover, the Arizona Department of Public Safety Director. And this has been a long lingering issue. Drugs, human trafficking, and it has to be addressed. And the people that are involved in this need to be brought to justice. Many families have been impacted by this epidemic. From 2018 to 2022, over 40,000 lives in our state have been lost to opioids. 71% of those is due to fentanyl. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. People need to understand that. And our teenagers are being recruited by cartel members who reach out to our kids through social media, offering cash in exchange for transportation and transporting drugs and people into this state. We need parents to be aware of these activities that are occurring and that their children may be lured into a dangerous situation where lives can be severely impacted and or lost. This partnership amongst agencies across the state shows that law enforcement is committed to stopping this dangerous trend from the cartels. They're feeding addictions and preying on our children. And it highlights our commitment in safeguarding the lives of our Arizona community. I want to thank all of our partners, those that DPS is supporting in this operation, and also Governor Hobbs and the legislator for the utilization of the local border fund support. And this allows for us to be able to serve our Arizona community in a fashion that it deserves. Next up, I want to introduce you to Sierra Vista Police Chief Chris Heiser, who's also going to provide some remarks.
Thank you. Chris Heiser, Chief of the Sierra Vista Police Department. I'll keep it brief. In the last couple of years, in our area, we've seen an increase of vehicle pursuits directly related to our apprehension of human traffickers and drug smugglers. And it has been a direct threat to safety and security of our community. We need to be proactive. We need to be cohesive local law enforcement response, and that's what this detail is. Over the next couple of weeks, you'll see Sierra Vista police officers working in and around the Sierra Vista area in a coordinated response with other law enforcement officers to be proactive and address this as we continue to protect and serve our community. I want to thank Sheriff Dannels. I want to thank Commander Watkins of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office for spearheading this and coordinating this effort. I also want to thank all the agencies that have come down from other parts of the state that come down here and work with us. And as we take a cohesive, proactive approach to combat this problem. I'd next like to introduce one of my colleagues, Benson Chief Greg Volker.
Good afternoon, Greg Volker from the city of Benson, Arizona. Gateway to the San Pedro Valley, Interstate 10, State Route 90, State Route 80, and small town America. And this type of crime, individuals coming up from the border at very high rates of speed, they affect small town America. So I wanted to personally thank the sheriff's deputies, the sheriffs, the DPS workers, the troopers that come down to this county of Cochise to work and support our community, our neighborhoods, our schools, and every citizen who lives there, and I appreciate it very much. I wanted to introduce our county attorney, Brian McIntyre. and I appreciate your time.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not a big fan of press conferences, and I think for the most part, all the words have been said, so instead, I'll give you a number, 13. In the last 2 years, 13 people have lost their lives in this county because of the nonsense that's going on here. Deputy Oletsky, as Sheriff Dannels mentioned, is in a hospital bed recovering still from his injuries. So I guess my message is twofold. One, Deputy Oletsky, your Blue family is here. They have assembled from throughout the state, and we're here to take care of you and to continue the fight. Second, if you're thinking about coming to Cochise County to run people or run dope, please turn around. Please don't do it. But if you do, please call your mama, because you're not going to see her anytime soon. Next up, introduce Sierra Vista Mayor Clea McCaw.
Afternoon. My name is Clea McCaw, Mayor of Sierra Vista. Want to say thank you to our Sheriff Mark Dannels, just for spearheading this event. I represent, on behalf of the mayors of Cochise County, we thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you to our law enforcement officials, federal, state, as well as local, for coming and saturating the city, this county. And like you said, Sheriff, enough is enough. I have a 17-year-old daughter who I fear when she hits that road going to high school. What would happen if she get hit by one of these low car drivers? I wouldn't be myself. So thank you, sir. Sheriff, we stand behind you. We stand with you in this effort. You have our full support. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. Anybody want to speak that we might have missed? Dale, anybody want to speak? All righty. Again, we're talking, we'll have measurable objectives onto this operation plan. You'll get a total brief. We do those weekly. We'll keep you posted on that. But I'll just say this, and I said this to my team and the leadership within the room with me, is if we save one life, there's no price tag on that. It means we've done our job. And that's what this is all about. As we move into the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the New Year, we want to make sure that this community, this state is safe. That's what this is all about. And as we push forward, Cochise County Sheriff's Office, the Sierra Vista Police Department, the troopers, even Border Patrol and HSI that are partners in this, can't do it alone. But collectively, we can do it. And it also supports our businesses here, our hospitals here. Thank you, Sean, for being here today with us and support. And all those. This is a great place to live, folks. Cochise County is a beautiful place to live. It's a special place to live with special character. But I'll tell you, we have a job to do in law enforcement now, and that is to protect it. And that's what we're going to do. We'll yield to questions for anybody standing behind me or myself. Ma'am?
Yeah.
Can you introduce who you are and who you're with?
Yeah, I'm Danielle Camaro with Arizona Public Media.
Okay.
Could you just give us some details on what the operation is exactly and how it's different than what you've already been doing?
This is an enhancement from what we already been doing, but we're bringing in more resources. You'll hear we had 3 helicopters working this detail, which provides more security for the law enforcement out there, to include the pursuits that we're addressing, the failure to yields. And also we have intel built into this operation at an enhanced level that helps us going after these drivers, going after the cartel. So I can't get deep into that, and I won't get deep into that this time. But when it's all over and done, I'm looking forward to rolling this all out to you and saying how successful it was.
Are those helicopters new?
One's new, 2 are not, but they're dedicated to this detail. So what you see here, and we can't do it by piecemealing it. Everything you see in here, the people standing behind here, and people that aren't even here today that we represent, Sheriff Rhodes represent the Arizona Sheriffs, have all discussed this in operational briefs and committed to doing what we have to do here and dedicating resources to make sure we're doing it right. And that's why. You'll see large numbers of people coming out working this.
Okay, so you're going to have, just making sure I understand right, so you're going to have law enforcement from throughout the state coming into Cochise County and patrolling in Cochise County, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you be a little more specific on like what law enforcement agencies, or is that going to be?
It varies by the week. Every week you'll get a new team coming in throughout the state. They'll go through safety briefs, operational briefs, and working within a designated operational plan with targeted targets.
All
So they'll have to define what they're doing. This is not just a rogue operation. There's a lot of disciplines built into this. As it was mentioned about Commander Watkins, he's back over there. He's done an amazing job, him and my leadership team, working with all the state partners, local partners and state partners, or county partners to put this together. So there's a lot of work in this, and hopefully at the end of the day, as we go into the holidays, you're going to look back and say, I feel better. And that's what this is all about. I was elected the sheriff to protect their quality of life and keep them safe. That's what we're doing.
And is all that law enforcement that's going to be working down here being funded with that 12 million that the state allocated?
Right, and that's where the Governor Hobbs, that's where Colonel Glover, all the folks here, standing here, have all worked in state partnerships to make that funding. So we're not absorbing local budgets, even though probably 95% of the law enforcement said we'll do it out of our own budgets because we see the need. This is not Cochise County's problem. This is the state of Arizona problem. This is America's problem. But we're going to do our part in this state and our communities. So, any other questions? Alexis?
So obviously this is going to be a change for the community and the residents here in Cochise County, seeing more law enforcement present. Is there anything they should really need to know, or you guys have a message for our community that are impacted by this change?
Thank you, Alexis. Channel 9 News out of Tucson. ABC. Let me say yes, that's a good question. I had to give you an introduction if you didn't do it. So it is this, and that is see something, say something. There's a lot of unrest. There's global unrest, as we know, the attack in Israel. There's global unrest, the war in Ukraine and Russia. Again, the numbers coming across our border last month in the Tucson sector, which we're part of, was 51,000 that came across our border. That doesn't include the gotaways. This is what we deal here in Cochise County and the surrounding areas. So this is a message of calm to the people here that we're doing something. This is a message of calm. But we also ask them to partner with us, see something, say something. If you find a vehicle suspicious in your neighborhood, don't call us the next morning. Call us right then and there. We're putting a lot of law enforcement on the streets of Cochise County and throughout to address these issues now. And we'll be there. So please call us. It gives us an invite to go in and check it out. And if somebody's in your neighborhood at 2 in the morning, it's probably not a good reason, especially in current times. Let us get there. Let us address it. And I'll say this. Last week we had a 14-year-old not being chased, going 124 miles an hour from the Phoenix area, picked up 4 migrants that came across the border illegally. 124 miles an hour before we intercepted him and brought him safely. Him and a 15-year-old passenger from Phoenix, hauling 4 illegals. Folks, we got to stop this behavior. And we stop it by the rule of law and consequences, enforcing the rule of law. Brian, thank you. Thank you, buddy, to you and your team. Mark?
Marquez, the Herald Review. I wanted to ask, how many migrants have been using the low-load cars in this year as opposed to the last several years?
I will say this. I don't have my current stats in front of you, but I'll say this. And the stats you have in front, if you add up the people arrested for border crimes in Cochise County, I think in less than 2 years is over 2,500. We're at maximum capacity. And I want to thank Sheriff Aldred from Graham County. We will have transports. So if you think, well, you can't put more people in your jail. Sheriff, thank you for opening up your jail for us. They're going there. They're going north. One way or another, they're not going to get away with this. I can tell you right now. The numbers are staggering. The law in 11 months under the new smuggling law in Cochise County was 409 people arrested just for smuggling in 11 months. We're pushing 400 pursuits in less than 2 years on smuggling. Bottom line is this. I can go on. Over 100 juveniles apprehended in Cochise County smuggling. We're down here for nefarious acts on our border. And that does include, drugs, stolen vehicles, weapon violations, assaults on officers, which is on a huge rise here, something I've never seen in my 39 years. The assaults, the aggressive behavior by the cartels and those working within the cartels' scope of operation. It's scary, but we're not going to tolerate it no more. So, any other questions? How you doing? Good seeing you.
With Fox 10 News in Phoenix. So when this all gets underway, will it basically look like, for example, deputies from Yavapai County on the streets here helping out? Is that kind of essentially how it will look?
Well, it's good to see you, Stephanie. You and I have done many stories together, but it's always virtual. It's nice to see you in person here. But yes, in fact, there's 3 Yavapai County deputies right back here that got here early. They'll be they start this off today. but they'll be here working right alongside our deputies and troopers and federal agents and city police officers. So if you see a sheriff's car from out of state, don't get worried, or out of county, excuse me. They're here for a reason. And I'll just say this, as an executive board member for Western State Sheriffs, we've worked with them, Sheriff Rhodes and many of the sheriffs sitting here with me today. They have offered up resources from west of the Mississippi to come down to this border in Arizona to help us out too. So this ain't ending anytime soon. Until we see a handle on it, or we see Washington D.C. realize the prioritization that needs to happen on our borders, we're going to keep doing what we have to do.
Do you think you guys will up, charges for those under 18 for doing something like this?
Brian, do you want to answer that, please?
Just to kind of send a message to them?
So yeah, thank you for the question. In the last 2 years, I think we've already charged 58 juveniles as adults for participating in this behavior, and that is an important message to put out. You don't get charged as a juvenile, you get charged as an adult. You go to an adult facility initially before you're transferred. And if you get convicted, even though a juvenile, in adult court, you are then treated as an adult for the rest of your teen years.
Any other questions, sir?
Sure, Daniel, so I'm calling with the Cochise on Sentinel. The question I had, you repeatedly talked about what you want Washington to do. Can you name some policies or specific things that you want to see DC do?
If you look at the rule of law, and this is, I don't want to, when you incentivize the border, and I encourage everybody to go look at the CBP app from the last month's stats. If you look at the stats, they say don't come to the country and unlawfully come into our country because it's a dangerous trip to get here. Not that we're going to hold you accountable. It's dangerous to get here. And I agree with that statement. It's not a false statement. But until we start enforcing the rule of law, and I was just in a meeting with Senator Kelly, some Border Patrol, and some mayor was there from Mayor Khalil McCall. We spent 25 minutes in a meeting, plus or minus, with an issue we deal with 24/7. When you have officers, agents, troopers, and deputies being injured and threatened, placed in vulnerable situations, when you have the public being placed in that, and we got 25 minutes. Something's wrong with that. But number two is the fact that I asked the question in this room, and I'll share it with you all today. Per the law, if you come across the border illegally, the law says you immediately expelled from the country. That doesn't happen. In fact, just the opposite. You get to stay. So there is no incentive, de-incentive to not come. So that's why they're coming. Now listen, I'm all about humanitarian efforts. When we do this detail, let alone protecting our own, people, citizens, American citizens, and those legally in the country, we're also protecting migrants that are being placed in trunks, being placed in cars and going 120 miles an hour with a juvenile driving, for example, many sit in our jail, many being addressed through the county attorney's office. Who's protecting those migrants if we're not? Who's protecting kids in our schools and our communities and families when that poison is coming across the border? Last week in this county was seized 185,000 pills, fentanyl pills, coming to Cochise County that were seized. Another 50, 60 pounds, I think it was, Bob, of 54 pounds of meth. If we're not doing our part to stop at our end, I watch communities, families, schools erode. And I wasn't elected to do that. I was elected to do the opposite. Because doing nothing is never the answer in a situation when it comes to quality of life and people's lives.
So to be clear, do you want to see more deportations? Do you want to see more prosecutions under 1326 and 1386? What do you really want the Biden administration to really do, or CBP to do? Do you want CBP to just simply send more people to justice courts?
I will say this, and that's not an easy answer, but I'll say this. Number one, share the message. Prioritize our southern border, prioritize all our borders. Enforce the rule of law as written until modified by Congress, which I'd encourage them and challenge them to do their job. And last not least is remove the politics from it. This ain't about politics, what we say here. This is about people with heartbeats. These are about humans that need to be protected. As Colonel Glover said, and him and I have talked numerous times, this is modern day slavery at the hands. But we can't get our White House or our federal people to come down here and even meet with us.
One thing also, sorry, is I also noticed, there's a few counties here, but you're missing most of the other counties. Have you talked to the folks in Pima County, Santa Cruz County, Maricopa County, et cetera, about having people also come out to help you out here in Cochise?
Most of the four border counties like Yuma, I'll use the Yuma sheriff for example, we're all dealing with the same problems. Whether how they dress it, how they deal with it is not my business. How I deal with it here, because we all share the same values here, the colonel with his troopers, sheriff's deputies, sheriffs in the room, Arizona sheriffs. So this wasn't a blind conversation. It's open to anybody. If the Santa Cruz County Sheriff, Yuma Sheriff, or the Pima Sheriff want to do it, I commend them. They should, because it's protecting their citizens and sends a strong message to the cartels. Absence in a unified front opens up doors. I can't control those counties, but I know the Yuma Sheriff, which I wouldn't be surprised this whole coalition's down there here real soon, addressing them too. The other two sheriffs I have not spoke to, and I don't know if the Sheriff Association, they're not part of the Arizona Sheriff Association, so I can't say what they're doing there. So. Any other questions for me, ma'am?
Gabrielle Pierce, KVOA. So what more is this operation going to do when it seems to be inverted trafficking?
That's a big discussion that the governor's office, the attorney general's office, General Mays, Governor Hobbs, and I have all spoke. I know Colonel Glover spoke on that, and many of the folks here, the Arizona Sheriff Association, Sheriff Rhodes, and when I was president of the Arizona Sheriffs, we all dealt with that issue. With the previous administration at the state level to current ones. I've testified about social media in Congress, but you got to listen to when we talk. If you're not listening, then it's a waste of oxygen. I hate to say it like that. Social media is a big factor. That's why you guys are so important. Everybody in this room's got a camera or got some ink you're going to spill for us. The bottom line is we have to address social media. When you can go on social media and buy a pill, fentanyl pill for $10 and it's delivered to your house, I call that a drug dealer. But they do it through social media so they feel protected, and they are, because right now what's happening? This is ridiculous. And that's what we stand for. Every one of us took an oath to protect our communities, and we're doing it in our state. So social media is a big factor. Please, help me go after them and change that behavior, because we got to stand. Because our young people that's their best friend is social media. But we got to change that best friend right now. Thank you.
Sheriff?
Yes, J.D.
Perhaps for you or for Sheriff Rhodes, J.D. Wallace with 13 News out of Tucson. You have a lot of deputies from other parts of the state that haven't been possibly on the border before. Is that going to require some additional training of some sort? I realize all law enforcement officers are trained to address the same situations, but you're dealing with something that's a bit unique along this border now. People willing to drive excessive speeds just for the purpose of getting out of here quickly.
Yes, JD, that's a good question. So as I was explaining here, the first question was, the disciplines, the orientation, the operational will be a very, very tight operation. They won't be out there by themselves running around the county. They'll be every trooper, every deputy, any officer that's from outside the area will have a radio tied right into our communication center. They're part of this. Tammy Jo, our director from CCOM. This will be a very tight-knit operation. We don't want rogue behavior. It's not what we're looking for. We want, and the orientation is 4 hours. Also trained by the county attorney on what to look for here on the border, to include operational maps, task force, where we're going to be. So again, we've had many briefs on this. This took a lot of time to get to you, the media and the people, to make sure that by the time we got to you, we're ready to go and we feel confident, each one of us. That was the last thing we said. If something's not working, let us know right away. But we're confident that we can put this forward now. So,
How long is it supposed to last? Do we know the length?
Every week's a renewal week. So again, if we have to go through the holidays and beyond, like I said, the resources are plentiful right now, thanks to Western State Sheriffs and the people in this room. We'll go until we see a difference. I'll just say that. And granted, most of the sheriffs and most police departments have said, Sheriff, we see the need because what's happening in your county hits my county when it comes to the poisoning, the drugs, the gangs, you name it, we'll help out. So they all see it too. So Sheriff Rhodes, do you want to answer anything on that collective effort?
You know, I just wanted to say that Cochise County Sheriff's Office and our partners down there have done a fantastic job preparing training for all the deputies and police officers that are coming down there, because your statement is absolutely correct. This is a new frontier law enforcement, that a lot of local law enforcement specifically, that police around the state have not seen before, but are starting to see more and more. Human smuggling, how to charge, how to do these investigations. And these investigations are now being done in other areas of the state, and we're increasing law enforcement capacity, we're increasing capabilities, we're increasing sophistication in different areas to recognize some of these organized crime, cartel-related smuggling activities so that you can root them out. That's a fantastic question, and we're very confident that, you know, everybody in the state, if we don't get a handle on things, is going to have to learn how to do this kind of enforcement. I just wanted to make one comment and reference your question. What do we want from the federal government? We want President Biden to specifically, unequivocally tell the rest of the world that the southwest border is not open and that you can only come here legally, no other way. We want that message communicated loud and clear. And we believe that would have an impact on the number of people who are coming here that think that it is open. Thank you.
Any other questions before we close out?
Can you tell us how many law enforcement are going to be coming into the area at a time?
That varies based on the week, based on the day, but you'll see an additional 20, 30 is what we're estimating, maybe higher, depending on the week. So added on to our limited resources here in a rural county. So we know the impact's going to be big on the criminal justice system, the judges, the defense, the prosecution, but it's something we're willing to take for our citizens. So.
Okay, how many law enforcement do you typically have patrolling at a time before this operation goes into effect?
Well, thanks to the governor's office, Governor Ducey, supported by Governor Hobbs, we have an interdiction team of 5. That specifically.
So on top of that 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we're just taking that supplemental resources, aircraft, intel, put them on top of that 5, and then all of the patrols are very vigilant what we're doing too from each respective agency. So it's just a force multiplier for the right reasons.
Can you say what all the agencies are?
It varies weekly, so I could tell you, I know the sheriffs within the 13 sheriffs within the Arizona Sheriff Association all supported this. Pima and Santa Cruz are not part of the Arizona Sheriffs, that's just a disclaimer on that. So 13 out of 13 said this is something we need to do.
So is it law enforcement all from sheriff's agencies, or is
No, it's troopers, it's our HSI, it's our Border Patrol, of course, the experts of the border, all of us. And let me just tell you, Border Patrol's very excited, and so is HSI, that we're coming down there to support them. They need this support, folks.
So there's going to be more Border Patrol agents in the area who weren't here before?
Yes, that's a good question. I've asked for Border Patrol's commitment on this, and thanks to Chief Maudlin from the Tucson sector, they have guaranteed me they're going to start adding some more people until they see some results too. So this is, everybody's in. This is a big team effort. Everybody's in. There's nobody going, well, I don't know, Sheriff. I don't know, Chief or Mayor or Director. No, we're in. Everybody's in. Not one person stepped back and said, I don't like it. We're here to keep our state safe, and that's what this is all about. Any other questions? Folks, I want to thank, Mark?
So, yeah, I just wanted to ask, how is this similar to what the National Guard has done in the area in the past?
Well, National Guard's not an enforcement branch of our operation. It's a support branch. And though we miss our National Guard, I hold them very high when it comes to all they do in this country and our state, but they're not an enforcement. This is a defined, targeted enforcement detail, so we're going after that. So anybody here and everybody that's working this detail, it's pretty much zero tolerance. You come down here to smuggle, Brian's office will see the paperwork. My jail will see you. We even got transport vehicles out there during these details that if you get arrested, the transport van picks you up, and they'll either go to Cochise County or Graham County for a room there. So it's no nonsense on what we're doing here. We're sending a pretty strong message. Folks, thank you. Media, thank you so much. And I mean that. Let me sincerely, on behalf of all of us, we couldn't do our job without you guys. We really couldn't. And I've always been, since I've been sheriff, come up on my 12th year, and all my years I've been in law enforcement, 39 total, I've always held you near. We don't always agree. I think we all would agree on that. We have a right to disagree. But the bottom line, we need you right now. We need you on this one. And thank you all. Again, thank you everybody staying in the room with me. And wish us well, because we're coming. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.